We call on again our Dean of Graduate Studies, Dr. Valencia Johnson, to introduce our honorable commencement speaker.
Thank you, Razal. And this is an esteemed honor to have to honor a great woman, a great phenomenal leader in the judicial system, along with a phenomenal spanning 40 years of legal experience in the court system and in the legal community. The Honorable Wanda Keyes Heard. Judge Heard has had a legal career spanning 40 years. She served 21 years as an associate judge on the Circuit Court for Baltimore City, where she made history as the first woman to become chief judge of the 8th Judicial Circuit of Maryland. During her judicial career, she handled many civil and criminal trials, but perhaps the most notable trial was the case of State versus Anon Saeed, which was featured in the international podcast Serial and on HBO miniseries. During her years of service, Chief Judge Heard specialized in seminars for judges and lawyers on Fourth Amendment search and seizure and the pitfalls of civil discovery. Not only with her commitment to bringing the legal profession closer to the youth of her community, she conducted bi-yearly nursery rhymes-based mock trials for the youth of area public schools to expose them to the courthouse and careers in law. The trial of Goldilocks and the trial of Jack the Beanstalk were among the most popular. Throughout her, Judge Heard has actively mentored young lawyers, interns, law clerks, and volunteered as an instructor and mock trial judge at area law schools. What a phenomenal leader.
Mhm.
While a judge
Okay.
and during retirement, she has been actively involved in the community with mentoring Black male teens in the Hood Incorporated, Roots of Scouting Incorporated, the Zeta Phi Beta sorority, been on political campaigns and grassroots community organizations. For almost a decade, she organized lectures and was an active member of the board of the Library Company of Baltimore City Bar. Today, continues to guest lecture and provide training about the court system to law students and Baltimore witnesses, interns who report on criminal court cases. She currently serves as the Board of Trustees of the Maryland Center of History and Culture. Not only she holds a Juris Doctorate from the University of Maryland King Carey School of Law, she also holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. She was admitted to practice law in Maryland, the federal trial bar for the United States District Court for Maryland, and the Supreme Court of the United States of America. She has received over numerous awards. She is a trailblazer. She received awards from the NAACP and the National Urban League, the Civil Rights Trailblazer Award, All Nations Baptist Church 22 Women's Day Excellence Awards. She has received so many accolades and awards. The Thurgood Marshall Award for Judicial Excellence and the 2018 Outstanding Alumni for Social Services from University of Baltimore County. Judge Heard is fully retired from practice of law, and and does not return as a senior judge, well, she's enabled her to delve into the world of politics, supporting worthy candidates and community action groups. She serves on the board of trustees for the Maryland Center of History and Culture and the Hunting Ridge Community Assembly. She is a member of New Psalmist Baptist Church and lives in West Baltimore with her little dog Blue. Retirement presents time to enjoy her granddaughters and travel. She has been a member of the Zeta Phi Beta sorority incorporated for almost 50 years. I want to welcome our, our esteemed commencement speaker, the Honorable Judge Wanda Keyes Heard.
I want to say congratulations to all of you and all of your family and friends from around the world. I'm hoping that everyone can hear me okay. I need to say this loud and clear. Congratulations, congratulations.
You're all set. Caitlin will be here shortly.
I am honored and excited.
Go ahead and upload your device in
Each and every graduate must be on cloud 9. You've got to be wound up, feeling exhilarated and relieved and just plain happy. The exams and assignments are done. The papers are written, and all the degree and other requirements for your credits and your awards and your diplomas have been met, or in some cases exceeded. You're done. But not really. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But you're ready to move forward, that's for sure, and go back to whatever you've been doing or continue more of what you've been doing. For many of you, this is not the finish line. It's only the beginning. And for others, you are now carrying with you additional knowledge to make your journey, to make your battle, to make your challenges easier. But you got to sit through my commencement speech first. So without any further delay, let me tell you a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. And I'm hoping if I give you the syllabus, so to speak, that I'll keep your attention, because as graduation speeches go, you know the drill. You've had at least one for high school, and for many of you, you've had several because you have a master's degree or maybe even another doctorate degree. So you know that in your experience, here we go, this lady is going to talk about your and how the world is your oyster and how everything is open and wide and you'll succeed with hard work and commitment, right? Well, I could do that, but I'm not going to, because you've already been congratulated by your professors. You've already been congratulated by the president. The president of the board of trustees has already talked about how wonderful it is, and other students have even talked about the experiences, maybe with you personally in class. You've talked about the quality education that you've received at CIU. What comes next? Well, you know, graduation might be live streamed right now from all over the world. All sorts of folks are tuning in. Friends and families, other graduates, they're all zooming in. For some of us, this is a new deal. For many of you, zooming is not a big deal. That's how you went about getting free. But it wasn't always this way. The connection of people from around the world, all focused, network from places across the country. Oh, perhaps we're in your class in that brick and mortar building. You might get to know someone from a different place, a different country. But what CIU has done is to bring people together that would not likely even know each other. And this is a big deal. live streaming, Zooming, being able to communicate and network and learn together is a big deal. It provides the opportunity for networking like no other. And I've decided to give you a taste of maybe what it used to be like, for you to appreciate where you are and the journey that I'm going to task you to in the future. You see, I decided, since I like science fiction, that I'm going to build a mini imaginative time machine. So I need to grab onto your imagination right now and think of it this way. You're being thrown into Judge Heard's time machine. And I've decided, in order to keep your attention, as we go back in time, I'm going to tell you, give you just a little look at what it used to be like. Now, what does that have to do with you today? Well, frankly, I was caught a little off guard when Dr. Johnson asked me to come and speak to you today at your graduation. I didn't have any connection to Covella International University. At least I didn't think I did. I didn't know anyone that worked or attended the school, but it seems you never know who's watching. My dad used to say that of me when I was a kid growing up. Always do your very best. You never know who's watching. And so it seems that while I was in my courtroom, just doing my very best to see what was going on, what cases I had, and to ensure that justice prevailed in my courtroom, and demanding, oh, by the way, as I always did, the very best of those around me, someone was watching. Now, usually it's the appellate's courts, or it's the parties looking for an error for the judge to make so they can appeal it, or judicial disabilities. That's what we call the people that watch the judges to make sure there's no misconduct. But in my case, I was being watched by someone that I didn't know and wouldn't even make themselves known to me for almost 20 years. Now, your generation knows about being watched. Everyone has a camera on their phone and everyone's recording. In fact, this graduation is coming to you via Zoom. So it's on social media sites. And in fact, I recently discovered that AI has so much information about you that you could actually, Google yourself, or at least ask a question of AI and get your answer right away. Anything that may be publicized or electronically done, online sites, postings, videos, photographs you've ever taken and scanned into a computer or put on your phone will show up. It doesn't go away. Back in the day, in olden times, we only had general information. You had your school records, you had maybe family photos, you had those embarrassing baby book pictures, that your mother might have compiled. You were famous or criminal if you turned up in an article in the newspaper. But other than that, you didn't do anything to really garner any attention. Well, times have changed. And we didn't have those cell phones back then. And when we went to the gas station, we couldn't just tap at the pump and pay for our gas, or go into the food store and go to the register and just tap on a card to pay your bill. I understand nowadays you can even put a chip in your wrist and show up at the store and have your purchases recorded as you walk out, and a bill will be generated and the funds deducted from your bank account. I'm telling you this. These were things that did not exist. Gas was only 36 cents, maybe 50 cents. And if you wanted to make a phone call, all you needed was a pay phone and a $10. Hey, and so years ago, starting out, Long stick cross.
Doc, you also muted Dr. Valencia. You have muted yourself. We're not hearing you, Dr. Johnson.
Okay. Dr. Williams, unmute Judge Heard.
Can you hear me now, Dr. Johnson?
Yes. We couldn't hear you, Dr. Williams.
We can hear you now.
Now we can hear you. Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of interference. Yeah.
Could you hear me earlier?
Yes.
Just the last two sentences.
I'm going to continue that. Thank you very much, Johnson. And there it is again, how you step in at a time when I least expect it. Are we okay now?
Yes.
We are fine. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Johnson, it was you. You invited me to speak here today. And you were in my courtroom. You were inspired to be a lawyer. I didn't know who you were, and you didn't make yourself known to me all those years ago. But yet, I am humbled by the fact that you remembered me, and even more impressed by the fact that you've accomplished so much. So here I am, 5 years into my retirement, and you call me and ask me to come and speak to your graduates at Covella International University. This is a very special day. So my goal is to try to inspire them, maybe in the same way that I inspired you. But it's for a deeper level of reflection that I'm going to ask the graduates of 2025 to think about what they've learned. You've got a quality education and you'll be able to talk about the degrees that you have. But what does that really mean? So as I'm taking you back in Judge Heard's little time machine, let me tell you where you're going. You're going back in time to the 60s and the 70s. Why? Why then? Well, that's when I was inspired to dream. That's when I was inspired to believe. Let me share a little bit about what it was like. You know, it's like you're saying to yourself, 1960s, 1970s? What does that have to do with 2025 and me today? Indulge me for a moment and keep that imagination of yours with you. You see, I was convinced I could achieve my dream of being a lawyer when I was about 8 or 9 years old, circa 1965. And even though there were no lawyers around that I knew that looked like me, you know, I'm a Black woman, there weren't any. I only knew one. And that was a TV character named Perry Mason on the black and white television owned by my parents. Once a week the show would air, and I was glued to that TV to see Perry demonstrate getting justice for innocent people by getting the guilty person to confess from the witness stand. And the whole time he carried around this giant law book called the Corpus Juris Secundum. Like many of you, I also have the support of my family at the time. But remember, you're in my time machine. Martin Luther King was alive, and he was a tremendous inspiration at the time. He spoke of dreams for all God's children. He promoted the idea that one day we would all be living and working together in peace. Lyndon Johnson was the president. President John F. Kennedy had already been assassinated in 1963. Remember, I'm talking about 50 years ago. And if you know American history, you know that this country was built by dreamers, indigenous people, enslaved people, immigrants, and indentured servants. It was built by people who believed in a better and brighter future for themselves and for their families. Around the world, the United States of America was viewed as the place to be, a place for opportunity for all. America was known for the promise of freedoms, of opportunity, and the premise that with hard work and in education, anyone could achieve their dreams. And so it was that symbol of democracy and opportunity and freedom that caused France to send us the Lady Liberty. Now, I'm a New Yorker, and I remember seeing it standing in the middle of New York Harbor on Ellis Island with its beacon of light and symbol of freedom. And yes, our ability and willingness to embrace all of humanity who came to this country, whether it was by force, enslaved, fleeing obstacles, oppression, or their own initiative, seeking every opportunity. My parents believed these American principles and taught me the importance of knowing that even though I did not know or had never met a Black woman who was a lawyer, that I could achieve my dreams with hard work. It was a sacrifice for them. It was a sacrifice for me. The terms freedom, rights, and faith were sacred. Now, many died to put those freedoms in place. Many a war has been fought to preserve our freedoms and way of life. Remember, these freedoms that we hold dear did not come easy. In our brief 400-year history, America has had many battles, wars, and strife. Remember the Boston Tea Party. Colonists fought against attacks by the king. Remember the civil rights marches of the 60s, the suffrage marches where women demanded the right to vote. There were even anti-war marches of the 60s too. And recently, Black Lives Matter and No Kings demonstrations. We've seen them. All you got to do is turn on the television. They're there. Americans have always guarded their First Amendment rights to speech. These sacred rights set us apart from dictatorships. And it is our strength and our Americans who guard these rights and these freedoms. That's, after all, what America and being American is all about. Now, in my time machine, how similar today are the political environment and society of the 60s and 70s when I grew up? As you see, historically, all of these are true. But when I was a young person, the struggle was real. It was left to the young people to stand up and assert their rights. And in the 60s and 70s, I, as a young person, saw the struggle. It was real, and I was part of it. So let me tell you a few things of the way things look like. Because remember, you're the class of 2025, but I'm speaking to you from the class of 1975, 50 years ago. You are the 25, but 50 years ago, when I graduated high school, there were many things that look just like today. So let me represent to you some of those things. And you tell me, while you're in my time machine, whether it looks like today. You know, when you think about what I just said, and as I described 50 years ago, it is my hope that it will inspire you to dream. Because if you believe, and what I say ignites you, CIU has given you the tools to be successful and to achieve more. They have given you the tools to dream. They have given you the tools to believe. And they have given you the tools to show you that you can achieve. Now, Technically, I'm a baby boomer. Since I graduated high school a half a century ago, 50 years, class of 1975, I'm a baby boomer. I don't know if there are too many of you grads out there that are baby boomers, but I bet you there's a bunch of millennials, Gen Zs, and Gen Xs. So I'm going to try to relate to you by telling you what it was like. I already talked to you about Martin Luther King. That was 50. And he said, the arch of the is long, but justice. The similarity going on in the country, what was being asked and demanded of young people back then, is very similar. You see, in the 70s, this country was at war. There were protests of that war. Students were in colleges and universities, on campuses. There was police and National Guard units, and they were there to quell the disputes. For my generation, it was the Vietnam War and the forced draft. Specifically, the young people felt that the war itself was unjust and that the draft was unfair. So in the 70s, we had a Republican president by the name of Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon ultimately resigned after it was shown that members of his staff were engaged in a burglary and snooping at the offices of the Democratic Party at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. The break-in took over after hours, and the order was connected, and the intel gathered and traced ultimately to President Nixon. The Watergate hearings filled three TV stations and created a hoopla, resulting in that resignation. There was so much distrust and distress and disillusionment among citizens in this country. There were young people protesting at the Democratic convention. There were young people protesting at the Republican convention. There were protests, marches, sit-ins, and arrests on a variety of subjects on university college campuses all across the country. Does any of this sound familiar? There were students protesting the financial involvement and investment of universities and colleges and businesses in the government of South Africa. At that time, apartheid was alive and well there. I'm trying to tell you that we're talking about a time when Nelson Mandela was incarcerated, but only in the 11th year of what would be a 27-year term of incarceration. Yes, this was 1975. I graduated. Affirmative action initiatives had just begun to impact diversity in the workplace and institutions of higher learning, dramatically increasing Remember, it wasn't until 1975 that a woman could even get a credit card without her father or a husband or a brother or any other male to co-sign for her. Yeah, they couldn't even get a credit card. Case law and laws have changed much of this. Title IX, which was a law passed requiring universities and colleges to provide equality and equity in scholarships for men and women in athletics and other educational programs, thereby opening the door to higher education for women who attended colleges and athletic endeavors. And yes, women's rights were being attacked as the courts expanded them. The Supreme Court of the United States provided in Roe versus Wade the right to productive freedom and rights for all women. This was the 70s. Does any of this sound familiar? Do any of these issues seem alive and well today? In fact, when I turn on CNN or NBC or Fox News, what do I find? The marches, the protests, and many of the signs that are being waved about could have been written back in the 60s and the 70s. And who is out there? Students and college universities across the campus, and other folks who've joined them, Americans, and other countries who are disputing and marching and protesting. Martin Luther King said, "Where I read of freedom to assemble, where we read of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read of these free rights. And I read them that the greatness of America is the right to protest for rights." So there you have it. I, in 1975, dreamed that dream, that one day I would be a lawyer, never expecting that I would be a judge, let alone a chief judge. I dreamed of a time when I would be considered qualified for the position that I held based on my intellect, my skill, my commitment, and my credentials. I believed the message that my father had provided, that I could do anything, that I could be anything with hard work and an education. And here I am today delivering the message of what the world looks like or looked like in 1975, when in so many ways it looks like that today, with one exception. This dreamer was able to accomplish her goal. We moved forward. We battled steady. We had other dreamers like yourselves who marched side by side, proving that it was possible to dream if you believed in that dream. It may have started 50 years ago for me, but I did accomplish those dreams. And schools, communities, professions are more diverse today. They include people of color like me. They include people of different religions and different genders. You have accepted the position, and you are in the place to do so much more than you ever were. However, I expect that the world will need you to help it move forward. It's going to need you. And the skills that you have developed, that you have fine-tuned at CIU, you need to keep moving forward. It's not just about DEI or affirmative action. It's about competency. It's about ability. It's about drive. It's about heart. It's about values. And those are the things that brought you to Covella International University. You were on a mission. You accomplished that mission today. You've gotten that next degree. Now, what are you going to do with it? What is going to make you different today and tomorrow and next year because you have attained that degree and that knowledge? You can't stop, and you certainly can't go backwards. You've got to move us forward. I don't want to go back. I was bused in 1965 across town to an all-white elementary school to integrate that school, to secure me a quality education. It was traumatic. It was an awful experience, but I grew from it. I learned from it. I was forged into a person who accepted that there may be difficult times, that I may have a difficult road, but I don't want my granddaughters to go backwards. I want them to move forward. So I need you to work hard. Look at me. I became a lawyer. I became the chief judge of the 8th Judicial Circuit of Maryland, the first woman in the history of the court. The days of judging people by the color of their skin or gender are over. They're over. That needs to stop. I was blocked from law school at the University of Maryland But there were laws that had changed. Years prior, a Black woman couldn't go to the University of Maryland School of Law. Now, the majority of women there, the majority of students there are women. This is not an experience that I want for my granddaughters. I want the doors to be open. And it's your generation, you millennials, you Gen Xers, you Gen Zs, that can move us into the next age. So I ask you, can you dream a future when we are at peace? Where healthcare is a given human right around the world? Where there are littlest humans, children are safe, protected, fed, clothed, and educated? Where jobs are available for all who want them, and those have skills and talents, those are nurtured. Where there is camaraderie between people of different cultures, religions, and gender differences are not only respected, but diversity is encouraged. Where we are at peace throughout the world. We all can work on global warming together. We all can save the planet. Yes, the dream can be a reality if you believe and you work. Yes, you. So as I'd like to say, don't think this is a utopia that Judge Heard is talking about. No, that this is something that is hard to do. Yes, it is. But you've received all of the knowledge necessary for this to happen. You know, when I was in undergrad, I had a college professor tell me that when I wanted to go to law school, he wouldn't bother to be my advisor. He said it was a waste of his time. He said I'd never get into law school. And if I got into law school, I wouldn't graduate. And if by chance I managed to graduate, I never passed the bar. Well, not only did I graduate the University of Maryland King Carey Law School and pass the bar in Maryland, but at one point I entered a courtroom representing the United States of America as an assistant United States attorney. And one of the first invitations that I sent out to my swearing in to the judiciary was to that same college professor, inviting him to attend as I took the oath to be a judge. Have any of you heard anything like this? Have any of you reached obstacles or met people who tried to stop you in obtaining your dreams? Your dreams are real, just like my dreams were real. You may face adversity. You may face racial or sexual discrimination. And the obstacles may be very huge. They existed for me 50 years ago. And I dare say some of them continue today. But believe, keep those dreams before you and work hard to achieve them. Now, when I look back, I realize I opened doors for many by just pursuing my own dreams, and you will too. I built bridges, and you will too. You will have people watching you, just like I did. She's now the dean of your graduate school. 50 years ago. Well, 50 years from now, I'll be gone. Perhaps you will be asking to be asked to speak to the class of 2075. Perhaps you'll remember the day that Judge Heard came in and charged you at your graduation, speaking from the class of 1975 to you in the class of 2025, to believe, to dream, to achieve. After all, there's a lot of strides I'm talking about, and there are a lot of things for you to do. You got 50 years. I want you to cherish what we've accomplished so far and protect those things that we've done. All of the things that have gained in the 50 years can easily be lost if you fail your mission. Dream the world, as I talked about. Believe it can happen and achieve it. You have the skills to make it happen in your community, in your country, in your city, on your workplace. And it's waiting for you. Now, if my time machine worked today, I've been able to stop, and it looks like 50 years from now, I may be gone. But if the world is the way it is with technology, I bet you they have a time machine. And here's what I'd like you to do. Get in that time machine in 2075. Wind it back to 2025. Drop in and let me know how we did. Won't you? Let me know how you made out. Tell me about those dreams and tell me how you achieved them. I'd love to know. Again, congratulations to the graduates of Convella International University. Congratulations. God bless you all and be safe.